Long ago, in the times of kings and queens and castles, there was a man with a donkey. Now this donkey worked hard and long for his owner. He carried sacks of grain to the mill. He carried loads and loads of things from one side to the other. He went for years working for his master. But as he got a little older, the sacks got a little heavier. His knees got a little weaker, and his loads got a little less efficient. Now the man who owned the donkey, he knew that eventually the donkey was no longer going to be able to fulfill his needs, so he decided to start saving for a new donkey. And the way to do that was to stop feeding the old donkey. After about 2 or 3 days of this new diet, the donkey realized this is not going too well. So he said, I've got to go on to greener pastures. Donkey gathered himself and went down the road, and he said, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to Bremen. I'll have fame and fortune. So as he's going down the road, he saw on the side of the road this panting dog. He was panting so hard. His tongue was to hear. His ears were down. He said, my friend, what's wrong with you? The dog said, oh, it's not good. He said, I'm so old and I'm so tired. And my master wants me to herd the sheep. My master wants me to flesh out the birds when we're hunting. And the last 3 times we went out hunting, I could flesh no birds. And I'm afraid I lost a few sheep. And the last I heard, my master was going to get another dog. So now I don't know what to do. And he goes, fear not. Why don't you come with me? I'm going to Bremen. I'm going to be a musician. I can play the lute and you can play the drum. The dog said, well, I've got no other options. So he jumped on the donkey's back and off they went. A little while later, they saw on the side of the road this sad cat crying, and he was cleaning himself and he was crying, and they said, what's wrong with you? And the cat said, it's not been a good week. He said, well, tell me, what's wrong? The cat said, I'm just so old, and all I want to do is lay by the fire and purr. But my mistress, she hits me with the broom. She wants me to go out and chase all the mice, and you know, I don't even like mice. So they said, well, fear not. You should come with us before they throw you in the river. And the cat said, throw me in the river? He said, no, that's not for me. And he jumped on the donkey's back, and off they went. Now the 3 of them were on their way to Bremen because they were going to be musicians. And as they came to a bend in the road, they heard this horrible screeching. What is that noise? They went a little further and they saw on the top of this broken down old shack was a rooster just crying and crowing and crying. And the donkey said, my God, man, what is that horrible noise? And he said, oh, I'm so sad. This has not been a good day. This has not been a good week. This has not been a good month. He said, well, tell me what seems to be your procurement, what seems to be your predicament. He said, well, my mistress knows that we're having people over, and she wants me to crow early in the morning and bring on good weather. The last 3 days I've gotten up early and I've crowed to bring on the good weather, and it's rained. And the last I heard, my mistress was talking to the cook. She told the cook to go find a new rooster to cut off my head and throw me in the Sunday soup. And the cat and the dog and the cat and the dog and the donkey said, ooh, be in the soup. It's not a good way to spend a Sunday afternoon. So they said, come with us. We're going to be musicians. We're going to Bremen. And the rooster said, okay. And he jumped up on, and along they went. Now, Bremen is a little further than you might think. So they were on their way to Bremen, but it started to get dark. They went into the forest and they found a tree. The donkey and the dog, they laid next to the tree. The cat jumped up into the branches, found a place to make a bed, and the rooster flew up to the top of the tree and found a perch. As the sun started to go down, it started to get a little colder, and the rooster was none too happy. He looked off in the distance and he saw that there's a cabin with a light. He said, hey boys, there's a cabin with a light over there. What we need to do is we need to go over there and so we can sleep inside. They said, all right, not too fond of this cold myself. So they gathered themselves up and they went to the cabin and they saw the light and they heard the ruckus, and the donkey said, hold on, let me take a look. And the donkey went over and he looked into the window and he saw that there was robbers, but they had so much loot. They had plenty to eat and plenty to drink, and straw in the corner and enough wood for the fire. So the donkey went back and goes, this is it. We need to scare those robbers out of there. He said, dog, I want you to jump on my back. Cat, you jump on the dog. Rooster, jump on the cat. We'll go over there, I'll lean up against the window. When I give the signal, we'll sing our songs of merriment and chase them away. So they did that, and the donkey put his paws up against the window, and the donkey belled, and the dog barked, and the cat cried out, and the rooster crowed, and the window broke, and it crashed, and there was things flying everywhere, and the robbers knew that there was a ghost or something coming in, so they ran out into the woods. The donkey, the dog, the cat, and the rooster went in and took their places by the table, took part of some drink and some food, told stories, and enjoyed the fire. After they'd had their fill, as if they'd eaten for weeks, they decided to put out the fire and get some rest. The donkey found some straw. The cat, once again, found a nice place by the fire. He was able to warm and purr. The dog slept behind the door, and the rooster flew up into the rafters. About midnight, the robbers were thinking perhaps we were a little rash on giving up our shelter and giving up our stash. So what they did was they said, boy, you're the youngest one. You go out there, you look in the window, and you tell me what's up. I think they've gone. The lights are out, and it's very quiet there. So the youngest robber, he wanted to be part of the gang, so he ran up to the window, and he looked in, and he saw nothing. He jumped in the window. He still could see nothing. And he looked over by the fire, and he saw the cat. But he mistook the cat for hot embers. He saw the cat's eyes. So he took out a match that he could light on the ember, and he poked it into the cat's eye, and the cat said, I'll have none of that. And he jumped up and hissed and scratched the boy's face. And the boy was so astonished, he ran over and tried to get out the door, but he ran into the dog. The dog bit him in the leg. And as he tried to get away from the dog, he walked into the straw, and the donkey kicked him in the side. The boy finally made it out the door, and as he was running, the rooster cried, cock-a-doodle-doo! Cock-a-doodle-doo! And the boy ran all the way back to the robbers, and he told the captain, Captain, we've got to leave. We can't be going back there again. He said, what is it? Well, there's a horrible witch. The horrible witch, she scratched me in the face. And there's a man behind the door who stabbed me in the leg. And there's a horrible ogre who hit me with a club. And I barely made it out of there before the witch cried out to me, and she said, we're coming after you! We're coming after you! And so the robbers never came back again. And so from that day on, the donkey, the dog, the cat, and the rooster were able to enjoy their food and drink and sing songs of merriment, and they never left the cabin again. That is the saga of the Minstrels of Bremen.